For a long time, I tried really hard to be what people call the good trans girl. If you're trans, you know what that means. And if you don't know what it means, I will explain it to you really briefly. It means being polite when someone misgenders you. It means calmly explaining your identity like you're a TED Talk. It means never raising your voice, sounding angry, never making anyone uncomfortable. It means being digestible. And I did that, I really did. I softened my language, I over-explained myself. I thanked people for trying. I laughed off comments that hurt and swallowed reactions that were completely justified. Because I thought, genuinely, that if I was kind enough, patient enough, educated enough, that people would see my humanity. But here's what I learned the hard way. Being the good trans girl does not protect you. The idea of the good trans girl isn't something trans people invented. It's something that society demands from us. Sociologists call this respectability politics. The idea that marginalized people earn safety and rights by behaving properly. Historically, this has been forced onto black people, gay people, women, disabled people, and now also trans people. The message is always the same. If you act right, we will treat you right. But research and history show that this is a lie. When I first came out, I believed politeness was protection. So when someone said something transphobic, I didn't get mad. I explained, I educated, and I stayed calm. When people asked invasive questions, I answered them. When people debated my existence, I stayed respectful. When people disrespected me, I minimalized my feelings. And when it still didn't work, I blamed myself. I told myself that maybe I didn't explain it well enough. Maybe I was too emotional. Maybe I need to be more patient. Maybe I am the problem. That's how respectability politics trap you. When it fails, you internalize the blame. These aren't just my feelings. There's research behind this. In social psychology, studies show that people with entrenched prejudices are rarely persuaded by calm explanations by the group they are biased against. One major meta-analysis by Pettigrew and Trop, 2006, found that intergroup contact only reduces prejudice under very specific conditions, like equal power, institutional support, and shared goals. Politeness alone does nothing. And even more important, later research found that getting along nicely can actually reduce motivation to challenge injustice, because it makes inequality feel less urgent. So when trans people stay calm, polite, and agreeable, our suffering is often minimalized, not taken seriously, because people think that, well, they seem fine, it can't be that bad. Here's the catch. When marginalized groups express anger, they are labeled irrational, aggressive, or unreasonable. And there's also research on this. A study by Kaiser and Miller, 2001, found that marginalized people who point out discrimination are socially penalized for it, even when discrimination is real. So it's a lose-lose situation. Be calm, your pain gets minimalized. Be angry, you get discredited. Now let's talk about what this does internally. Research on emotion suppressions show that constantly hiding your feelings to make others comfortable is linked to worse mental health outcomes. A foundational study by Gross and John, 2003, found that emotional suppression is associated with increased stress, less social interaction, poorer psychological well-being. So when trans people are pressured to be nice, polite, and agreeable, the cost isn't just social, it's psychological. There's also a framework called the minority stress model, developed by psychologist Ilan Meyer. It explains how chronic exposure to stigma, discrimination, and the anticipation of rejection leads to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout in marginalized groups. This model has been directly applied to trans people. Studies show that being forced to suppress identity or constantly manage other people's comforts increases mental health risks for trans individuals. So if you feel anxious, exhausted, numb, or burned out of trying to be good, that's not a personal failure. That's a documented psychological response to chronic invalidation. What finally broke it for me was that no amount of trying to be good has actually stopped people from hating trans people. I watched people praise me and then vote against trans healthcare. I watched people say, "You're one of the good ones," like it was a compliment. I watched my calmness be used as proof that transphobia isn't actually that bad. That's when I understood. The good trans girl isn't someone that society wants to protect. It's someone that society wants to use as proof that they are not transphobic, as a shield against criticism, as a weapon against other trans people. I stopped trying to be the good trans girl when I realized that my anger is not a flaw, that my boundaries aren't cruelty, and that my refusal to educate is not ignorance. Cis people are not entitled to our emotional labor. Research even shows that confronting prejudice, rather than accommodating it, is more effective at reducing biased behavior. So no, politeness isn't activism. I'm not the good trans girl anymore. I'm not the polite one. I'm not the apologetic one. And I'm not the one who shrinks herself anymore just to survive. I speak clearly now, set clear boundaries, call out hypocrisy, and protect my own peace. And yes, sometimes that makes people uncomfortable as well. But discomfort is not violence, and my existence is not a debate. If you're exhausted from being good, just know that you didn't fail. It's because that role was never meant to save you. You don't owe perfection to deserve safety. You don't owe kindness to people who deny your humanity. You don't owe silence to make other people feel comfortable. I stopped trying to be the good trans girl and started being myself. And that's enough. I'm just so tired. I'm just so fucking tired of us having to perform an act of being good to everyone and not caring, because we shouldn't care. But we should care if our own rights are being taken away, if our own lives are being dehumanized, if we're being dehumanized. We should care and we should stand up for that. Despite it not being a happy video, I hope you still enjoyed.